fast, where truth moves faster than a Holstein calf. No waiting on some pretty page. We're charting new ground in the digital age. From genomic codes to row-wide facts, we cut through the noise, no holding back. Not your daddy's dairy news tonight. We're sparking debates with every insight. The ring's not where the real fight's at. It's in the data, in the channel chat. From pasture to processor to your morning cup, we're raising the stakes. Try and get ahead of herd. Yeah! Where the future's more than just a word. Ahead of herd. Come on! The bullvine's calling, let your voice be heard.
Welcome back to the Bullvine,
the show Dairy Farmers Trust for no BS industry analysis.
Exactly. We are cutting through all the daily dairy industry noise to get you the insights that actually, matter for your operation. And today we're diving deep into a fascinating feature piece straight from www.thebullvine.com.
Yeah, and we are talking about precision livestock farming, specifically this wild explosion of internal data monitoring.
Right. But before we get into the heavy data, I want you to imagine something for a second.
Okay.
Just picture that you're holding on to this incredibly valuable asset.
Like a tractor.
No, a biological asset. We are talking tens of thousands of dollars, maybe even six figures, wrapped up in one single breathing package.
Right. An elite animal.
Exactly. You spent years, honestly, maybe generations of careful breeding and planning, getting this specific asset to peak condition. And you're standing there in the barn looking right at it.
And it looks great.
It looks unequivocally perfect. Not a hair out of place. No weird behaviors. Your naked eye, your decades of farming experience, they're both telling you everything is fine.
But it's not.
No, it's not. Because deep inside, resting quietly in the dark of its stomach, is a piece of technology that costs exactly $99.
That's it. $99.
$99. And that sensor is quietly screaming into the digital void. It is sounding alarms that no human being could possibly perceive yet.
That's a scenario that fundamentally challenges human intuition.
Totally.
Because as a farmer, you're suddenly forced into this very modern, very uncomfortable dilemma. Do you trust your own eyes?
Right, the same eyes that have paid the bills for 20 years.
Exactly. Or do you trust an invisible data stream coming from a piece of plastic and metal you can't even see? It's a massive shift in how we manage risk.
And that tension right there, human intuition versus raw data, that is the exact mission of today's deep dive.
We are getting into the hard truth about this tech.
Yeah. We're unpacking an incredible article about the 2025 Royal Agricultural Winter Fair. We're looking at dairy farming, high-stakes cattle shows, and how data is just totally revolutionizing traditional agriculture.
And I want to make something really clear right up front. Even if you, listening right now, have never stepped foot on a dairy farm.
You've never hauled a trailer.
Right, never even thought about how milk gets to the grocery store. You absolutely need to stick around for this deep dive.
Why should they care?
Because what we are really dissecting today is a complete masterclass in risk management.
Oh, absolutely.
It's about the hidden economics of reputation. These are principles that apply to literally any business. We're looking at how wearable or, swallowable technology is catching invisible problems days before they turn into very public, very catastrophic failures.
Swallowable tech. I love that. So we are going to break down the surprising ROI of this hardware. We'll look at the hidden long-term costs of calfhood diseases.
Which are brutal, by the way.
Brutal. And we are going to confront a very uncomfortable truth about when buying this cutting-edge technology is actually a complete waste of your money.
Yeah, we are definitely challenging the marketing hype today.
Sure. So let's set the scene. Put yourself in Ferme Petitclerc's boots for a second. It's November 2025.
Getting cold.
Very cold. We're in Quebec. Maxime has almost 2 decades of experience showing cattle at the absolute highest, most elite levels.
The big leagues.
The biggest.
Hey.
He has 22 of his best heifers bedded down. They are in the final prep stages for the long haul down to Toronto for Canada's most prestigious dairy event, the Royal Agricultural Winter Fair.
The pressure in that barn is just immense.
Can you explain the stakes for someone who doesn't know the show circuit?
Yeah, to understand the Royal, you have to realize it's the proving ground. It's the Super Bowl and the Oscars of the dairy world mashed together.
That's a great way to put it.
This is where genetics programs that took generations to build are put on a global stage. Buyers from all over the world are watching you.
Every detail matters.
Every single detail, down to the exact curvature of a hoof or the shine of the coat. The margin for error is essentially zero.
Zero margin.
Yeah.
And there's this one heifer in Maxime's string. She looks completely normal. It's morning chores. She's eating her feed, nosing through the TMR without any hesitation.
That's perfectly fine.
She's moving around the bedding pack comfortably. To anyone looking, she's ready to step into the ring in 48 hours and win.
Maxime's muscle memory is telling him she's on track.
Right. But the FarmFit rumen Bolus, that $99 sensor sitting deep down in her reticulum, is telling a much darker story.
So what was the data actually saying?
Well, the continuous stream off that bolus showed two critical deviations from her normal baseline. First, her core body temperature was trending steadily upward.
Was it a massive fever?
No, not yet. Not a blazing 105-degree spike. But it was a clear, undeniable upward trend breaking from her daily cycle.
Okay. And the second deviation?
Rumination. The total time she spends chewing her cud throughout the day was starting to drop off.
And that specific combo temp up, rumination down, that's where the text shifts the whole timeline.
Exactly. The system's algorithms flagged that this animal was likely 12 to 18 hours away from showing any obvious, visible signs of illness.
12 to 18 hours?
Just pause and think about that window.
In the context of a fast-moving bacterial infection, 12 hours is an absolute eternity.
It's the difference between a spark in the wastebasket and the whole house burning down.
Exactly. So because Maxime had that invisible data, he made a decision that totally contradicts traditional farming.
He treated an animal that looked completely healthy.
Yes, he started medical treatments immediately. In an interview for the article facilitated by ST Genetics Canada, he explained that the data sees the microscopic war inside the body before the human eye sees the casualties on the outside.
I love that phrasing, the microscopic war.
It's fascinating because of the biological reality of that 12 to 18-hour window. To really grasp why this tech is revolutionary, you have to understand the difference between leading indicators and lagging indicators.
Okay, break that down for us.
Core body temperature is the ultimate leading indicator. When a cow's immune system detects a pathogen, like a respiratory virus, the very first systemic response from the brain's hypothalamus is to raise the core temperature.
The body's literally trying to cook the bug to death.
Exactly. And this defense mechanism kicks in hours, sometimes days, before the animal feels sick enough to act lethargic.
So the core temp is like the check engine light turning on.
Right. But visible symptoms like a drooping head, dull eyes, or dropping feed, those are lagging indicators.
That's the engine actually smoking on the highway.
Yeah. By the time a cow physically stops ruminating or looks depressed in the corner, the disease has already been progressing unchecked. The pathogen has multiplied, the body is exhausted.
So having a sensor that monitors true core temp every 15 minutes gives you this massive unfair head start.
An unfair advantage for sure. You're intervening when the bacterial load is low.
Think about the alternative timeline here. What realistically happens without that $99 piece of hardware?
Just think about the normal rhythm of a farm.
Right. If that heifer looks fine at the 6.0 AM feeding, the next time anyone really scrutinizes her is the evening feeding at 5:00 or 6.0 p.m.
That is a massive 10 to 12 hour blind spot.
And biology doesn't pause during that blind spot.
The temp keeps spiking, the bacteria multiplies, inflammation spreads.
By evening chores, she isn't just a little off. She is undeniably sick.
And now you are in full-blown panic mode.
You're looking at a highly valuable heifer supposed to get on a transport trailer in hours, and you're scrambling to call an emergency vet.
Let's talk real economics there. An after-hours emergency vet call is $200 to $500 right off the bat.
Before they even give a single drug.
Exactly. And worse, you're almost certainly scratching her from the competition. All that prep work is just gone.
Plus, the transport plans for the other 21 animals are in total chaos. Do you leave her behind? Do you risk putting a sick, shedding animal on a closed trailer?
The stress for the farmer goes through the roof. But Maxime avoided all of that because he had the data. The early targeted treatment kept her sound, kept her healthy, and she made the trip.
And there's a biological multiplier effect, the article points out. Catching it early doesn't just save the cow, it makes the medical treatment way more effective.
Shorter duration of drugs, sometimes less aggressive drugs.
Which reduces the risk of antimicrobial resistance, which is a massive concern right now.
And it just costs less than waiting for a full-blown crisis requiring IV fluids and days of nursing.
Oh, and there's this brilliant feedback loop in the FarmFit app. You can mark the temperature curve with the exact timestamp of when you gave the treatment.
So you're not just hoping for the best.
No. You can open your phone and literally watch the core temperature line respond to your intervention over the next few hours.
If the line doesn't trend down, you know instantly you might have misdiagnosed it. Or the bug is resistant.
Real-time, objective feedback, it's incredible. Which actually brings us to a really counterintuitive strategic choice Maxime made.
Oh, right. Testing it on the show string first.
Yeah. Most farms, when they get a brand new piece of tech, they test it on their commercial cattle first.
The rank and file milking string.
Right. You want to figure out the software bugs and alert thresholds before you trust it with your million-dollar genetics.
But Maxime did the exact opposite. He put it on his absolute best, irreplaceable animals, headed straight into the high-stress Royal Winter Fair.
To a lot of traditional guys, that sounds reckless.
It does sound risky until you pull back and look at the underlying economics of the show cattle circuit.
The financial stakes are just orders of magnitude different than a standard commercial barn.
Let's dive into the heavy data here. We need to talk about what the Bullvine article calls the reputation tax.
Oh, man. This part of the article is brilliant. It's the hidden economics that completely dictate the industry.
It's supported by some fascinating research out of Oklahoma State University.
Let's look at the cascade of costs for a 6-show animal. We mentioned the vet call that's $300 to $500. But then you have wasted entry fees, transport costs, specialized clipping and fitting.
That's easily $1,500 to $2,500 evaporated.
Just gone the second you scratch her.
But that's just the immediate cash outlay. You have biological setbacks. The physiological stress of the illness during prep can extend her calving interval by weeks.
And delayed breeding costs real money.
Yeah.
Industry averages show extended calving intervals cost a farm $5 to $6 per day. Every single day she remains open.
But even that is pennies compared to the real blow.
Evaporated private sales.
Yep.
If you're a breeder at the Royal, you aren't just there for a ribbon. You're marketing your genetics to the world. You're having high-stakes conversations in the aisles.
And if a buyer walks down your aisle and sees you treating a sick animal, or if your star heifer gets pulled from the ring,
those private sale conversations vanish. Depending on the pedigree, that's a sudden loss of $8,000 to $25,000 in revenue you thought you had locked in.
which brings us directly to the Oklahoma State University research on seller reputation. I'd argue this is the most critical part of the whole economic puzzle.
I agree.
Their survey work proved that a seller's historical reputation massively influences a buyer's willingness to pay.
It's exactly like buying a used car or dealing with an eBay seller.
Right. The product might look okay in the photos, but if the seller has a terrible rating, you walk away. Or you demand a massive discount to offset the risk.
Let's run the actual numbers from that research.
Yeah.
Because they are staggering.
Go for it.
If you have a positive, proven reputation as a seller, a history of providing healthy animals, buyers will pay a premium of $10.42 per hundredweight for certified cattle.
$10.42 per hundredweight.
But the wild part is, even for uncertified cattle, just having your good name attached gets you an automatic premium of $2.86 per hundredweight over the base market price.
Your farm's prefix literally translates into hard dollars per pound.
Yes. But here's the bombshell statistic, the one that should keep elite breeders awake at night.
Oh, the walkaway stat.
Roughly 25% of buyers, 1 in 4, indicated they would completely walk away and refuse to bid at all on cattle from a seller with a known negative health reputation.
Wait, 25% just evaporate.
1 in 4, completely gone, regardless of how good the individual animal standing in front of them looks on that specific day.
She could be genomically perfect.
Flawless structural conformation. Perfect udder attachment. Doesn't matter. If your farm's brand name took a hit because of a messy health failure last year, 25% of the paddles stay down.
That is the reputation tax. It's brutal. It's a compounding drag on your business that follows you for years.
And that economic context is exactly why Maxime's decision wasn't a gamble. It was a calculated insurance policy. He was protecting his prefix.
Let's look at the actual investment math for his barn setup.
Let's do it. So 22 elite animals. Each bolus is 99 Canadian dollars.
Okay.
Then the infrastructure. 1 internet gateway for $700 and 1 collector unit for $600.
So total capital investment.
Approximately 3,478 Canadian dollars.
And if you average that across the 22 animals, it's roughly $158 per head.
Right. Now weigh that $158 investment against the alternative scenario.
A single serious health incident at a major show, factoring in all those costs and the reputation tax, could easily exceed $15,000 to $30,000 in damages.
When you look at it like that, it's a complete no-brainer.
You're spending $3,500 to build a digital fortress protecting you from a $30,000 loss.
If it saves just one sale or prevents one public disaster, the whole package pays for itself instantly.
It really reframes how you look at hardware costs. It's not an expense, it's risk mitigation.
And this success story from Quebec is just a microcosm of a massive shift in the global ag industry. Precision livestock farming is exploding.
Grandview Research valued the global market at about $7.5 billion in 2024.
And they project it to hit nearly $20 billion by 2033.
$20 billion. That's a tsunami of venture capital and engineering talent flooding into the sector.
What that means for you, whether you manage a dairy or consult for agribusiness, is that early adopters are going to capture a massive competitive edge.
According to USDA data, about 70% of large-scale farms use some kind of precision ag technology right now.
But let's clarify that. That 70% usually means automated feed pushers or GPS tractors. When it comes to wearable livestock tech, the actual biometric sensors on the cow, that's only at about a 12% adoption rate on large farms.
Individual biometric tech is significantly lagging behind things like robotic milkers.
Which means we are still in the early days. It's like where row crop ag was 20 years ago with GPS tractors. The farms that figure out the ROI math and integration today are going to outcompete their neighbors tomorrow.
Lower mortality, higher efficiency, protected reputations.
So if the wave is coming, let's treat this next part like a consumer tech review, like we're doing a teardown of the latest smartwatches, but for cows.
I like that. What are the actual hardware options?
The bovine article breaks down three main categories. Let's start with the entry-level budget option, ear tag sensors.
Ear tags are exactly what they sound like. They attach to the ear, similar to a traditional plastic ID tag.
Very low barrier to entry.
Super easy to apply, very little training needed, and they usually run between $30 and $80 a unit. Very attractive for large herds wanting basic coverage.
But there is a glaring gotcha with ear tags.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, think about human biology. If you want a real temperature reading, you don't stick a thermometer to the outside of your earlobe on a windy day.
Precisely. That is a massive vulnerability. They measure skin surface temperature, not true internal core temperature.
And on a working farm in Quebec or the upper Midwest, environmental variability is huge.
A sudden November cold snap or high winds in an open-sided freestall barn will drastically lower the surface temp of that ear.
It creates environmental noise, false negatives. It can totally mask an actual systemic fever brewing inside the cow.
So they're cheap and easy, but vulnerable to weather. You get what you pay for.
Let's move up a tier to option 2, activity collars.
These sit around the neck, like a thick dog collar with a weighted sensor box.
Costing roughly $80 to $150 a unit.
They've been around a while. Widely considered the gold standard for heat detection.
Meaning detecting when a cow is in estrus and ready to be bred.
Right. They use highly sensitive multi-axis accelerometers to track movement and resting time with incredible precision. But for early illness detection, their utility is only moderate.
Because again, they're external. They can sense a drop in activity, but they don't give you that vital early core temperature spike.
They only tell you the cow is lethargic, which is a lagging indicator.
Which brings us to option 3, the deep tech option, the rumen bolus.
Like the FarmFit system Maxime used.
Slightly higher upfront cost, around $110 to $125 per head overall.
But it's an entirely different class of technology because it's internal.
It's administered orally and settles deep down into the reticulum, one of the lower stomach compartments.
And once it's there, it stays safely lodged for the rest of the animal's natural life.
It's completely insulated from the wind, rain, and snow. It measures true, unadulterated core body temp every 15 minutes.
It also tracks rumination patterns through a calibrated internal accelerometer and tracks overall activity.
And the battery life is insane, 5 solid years. It outlasts the average productive life of a dairy cow.
But there's a specific engineering detail in the FarmFit bolus that is just brilliant.
Oh, the integrated magnet.
Yeah.
We need to explain this to anyone outside of agriculture, because hardware disease sounds like a computer virus.
But it's a very real, very gruesome biological problem.
Cows are indiscriminate eaters. They don't sort their food. They use their tongues to scoop up massive mouthfuls. If there's a stray piece of baling wire, a rusty nail, or a heavy staple mixed into the feed,
They just blindly swallow it.
and because of their anatomy, those heavy metal objects sink and settle right in the reticulum.
Where the bolus sits.
Right, but the reticulum is constantly churning and violently contracting to break down feed. As the stomach wall contracts around a sharp nail, the metal can literally puncture through the stomach lining.
And anatomically, right on the other side of that wall is the diaphragm, the lungs, and the pericardial sac surrounding the heart.
A piece of wire piercing the heart is excruciating and usually fatal.
So for decades, farmers have fed cows heavy magnets that sit in the reticulum to attract that stray metal and keep it safely bundled up.
The genius of the FarmFit Bolus is they integrated that essential life-saving magnet right into the biometric sensor casing.
It solves two totally different biological problems with one administration.
It's just pragmatic engineering.
Right.
Also, a vital technical note for North American producers. The FarmFit system operates on a 915 megahertz radio frequency.
Which is the standard unrestricted band here. So you don't run into regulatory hurdles or signal dropping like you might with imported European systems.
And the best business feature, no subscription fees, you buy it, you own it. No monthly SaaS drain.
But if we're doing a true objective review, we have to talk about the blind spot.
Right. No tech is perfect.
The internal bolus has a significant limitation when it comes to detecting one of the biggest, most costly issues on a dairy farm. Lameness.
Sore feet, hoof issues.
Think about the physics. The bolus is deep in the stomach. It has absolutely no idea what's happening 5 feet away down at the hooves.
According to the modeling work, the overall detection rate for lameness using a bolus is a dismal 5%.
Most common hoof problems, a sole ulcer, digital dermatitis, they don't create a strong systemic temperature signal. The cow doesn't run a fever, she just limps.
The accelerometer might pick up a slight decrease in walking, but by the time she stops walking because it hurts, you've already seen her limping for days.
The only time the bolus catches lameness is if the hoof develops a massive secondary systemic infection that causes a full-body fever.
So the takeaway is vital. If your farm's main challenge is cow comfort and sore feet, buying a $50,000 stomach sensor system isn't going to save you.
You're buying the wrong tool for the job. The key is matching the tech capabilities to the specific biological problem on your operation.
Which circles us perfectly back to why Maxine's show string was the ultimate stress test.
We talked about protecting the genetics and the reputation. But let's look at the biological reality of the show circuit.
You're taking an elite heifer, pulling her out of her routine, putting her in a swaying metal box on wheels, and driving her down the highway for hours.
It is a profound physiological burden. There is a massive body of vet research backing this up. Even short hauls trigger acute stress responses, elevated cortisol, altered immune function, massive shifts in energy metabolism.
And the physiological changes don't magically stop when the trailer parks. The immune suppression can persist for days.
The article cites a comprehensive review by the European Food Safety Authority, the EFSA, from 2022.
They identified 11 distinct welfare consequences that hit cattle during transport. 11 vectors of stress.
Group stress from mixing unfamiliar animals, handling stress, heat stress from poor ventilation, physical injuries from slips, motion stress,
Prolonged hunger, prolonged thirst, respiratory disorders from dust, restricted movement, restlessness, and severe sensory overstimulation.
Just sit with that brutal cocktail of stressors for a second.
You're asking an animal to deal with the exhausting physical motion, the disruption of feed, the terrifying noise of a highway.
And while her immune system is tanking from all these insults, you ask her to look physically perfect in a crowded, noisy arena.
It's a biological tightrope walk. And then you layer on the environmental shock. November in Canada.
The climate swings are brutal. Moving an animal from freezing outdoors into a densely packed, climate-controlled show barn, it's the perfect storm for a sudden respiratory infection.
Which makes a feature from ST Genetics so incredibly cool. They offer mobile monitoring systems.
Right. The trailer-mounted collector.
The Bullvine mentioned a farm in Washington state that used this. They continuously monitored their cattle's core temp and rumination while driving them all the way across the country to the World Dairy Expo in Wisconsin.
Anyone who has hauled livestock knows the anxiety of what's happening in the blind spot of that trailer. Having that continuous data stream pinging your phone in the truck cab gives you total peace of mind.
You can intervene the minute the data spikes, rather than finding a disaster when you stop for fuel 4 hours later.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about mature cows and elite show heifers.
But here's where this deep dive gets really profound. We need to shift focus to the young stock.
Because according to the data, this is the hidden, silent killer of dairy profitability.
This is the massive aha moment regarding long-term compounded value.
We are talking about bovine respiratory disease, BRD, specifically in young calves.
Most people completely miss this when calculating the economics of early disease detection.
The farm-fed boluses are small enough to be safely administered as early as the first month of a calf's life.
Why does the first month matter so much? Why not wait until they are older and stronger?
Let's look at the heavy data from the Basinski meta-analysis published in the Journal of Dairy Science. They reviewed 27 different peer-reviewed studies focused entirely on BRD in calves.
The statistics are devastating to the industry's bottom line. The baseline incidence rate in the U.S. is incredibly high, roughly 37%.
More than a third of all dairy calves born deal with this respiratory challenge early in life.
The immediate cost to the farmer is roughly $237 per case, factoring in antibiotics, lost growth, extra labor. But the article makes it clear that $237 is just the tip of the iceberg.
Right. They track these animals longitudinally. Heifers who had BRD as calves face a 2.9 times higher odds of dying later in life.
Almost triple the risk of death.
And 2.3 times higher odds of being removed from the herd before they even reach their first calving.
But the real tragedy, the kicker here, is that the lung damage caused by that early infection is permanent.
Permanent lung scarring. It doesn't heal.
When a calf gets bacterial pneumonia, it necrotizes the delicate lung tissue, and it heals through fibrosis, creating tough, inflexible scar tissue.
Even if the calf receives antibiotics, recovers, and looks fine running around the pen, her lung capacity is compromised forever.
And why does lung capacity matter to a dairy cow? She's not running marathons.
She essentially is running a metabolic marathon every single day. Milk synthesis requires massive amounts of energy and massive oxygenation in the blood.
If she has restricted lungs, she can't oxygenate her blood efficiently enough to support peak milk production.
By the time she enters the milking string 2 years later, she is operating at a severe physical deficit. The data shows animals with a history of calfhood BRD produce an average of 121 kilograms less milk during their first lactation.
That is wild. The damage is done at 1 month old, and it silently robs the farmer of profit every single day of her productive life.
This is exactly why administering a bolus in month 1 is so powerful. If you catch that early core temp spike and treat the respiratory challenge instantly before the infection causes permanent tissue necrosis, you aren't just saving a $200 calf.
You are physically protecting the lifetime anatomical capacity and profitability of your future milking cow.
And this raises a really important logistical question. As farms consolidate, a lot of operations send their calves to specialized off-site heifer raising facilities.
The classic out-of-sight, out-of-mind problem.
When animals are miles down the road, they simply aren't observed as frequently by the same highly trained eyes.
A continuous internal monitor bridges that geographical gap. It gives you a digital early warning system for animals drifting off track in a distant barn,
saving them before that permanent lung scarring occurs, even if the owner hasn't visited the facility in a week.
Okay, we have praised this tech a lot. The saved show heifers, reputation protection, BRD prevention. But it's time for the critical thinking segment.
We need to challenge the marketing hype.
The bovine article did not hold back here. We are going to look at the uncomfortable, unvarnished truth about ROI. Return on investment.
This is a crucial pivot. We have to look at the data from the SimHerd study, also published in the Journal of Dairy Science.
They used complex economic modeling based on 65 dairy cows equipped with rumen boluses.
And the first thing the data revealed is that the technology's sensitivity, its ability to catch a disease before the farmer does, varies wildly depending on the specific disease.
Let's run down the actual detection rates. We already know lameness is 5%, but what about internal issues? Retained placenta? The bolus had a 64% detection rate.
Clinical milk fever, severe hypocalcemia, a 61% detection rate.
But then it drops off. Mastitis, only 43%. And metritis, a severe uterine infection, a dismal 25% detection rate.
The biological pattern is clear. Massive metabolic conditions where core temp drops or spikes early as a primary symptom are caught reliably, usually in the 60% range.
But localized infections like metritis or mild mastitis only trigger the systemic alarms a fraction of the time.
The tech is absolutely not a magic wand. It has very specific biological limitations.
And here is the real catch. The part tech companies don't put in bold print. The financial return you get depends entirely on how bad your farm's health was before you bought it.
It's highly counterintuitive to how we usually buy upgrades. The study modeled returns based on baseline herd health.
For farms with poor health, meaning above average disease and mortality, the tech was a massive win.
They saw annual net returns ranging from 23 to 119 euros per cow, roughly 25 to 130 US dollars per cow every single year.
Because their barn was full of unmanaged fires, and the sensors finally let them put out the fires early.
But what if you are already a great farmer? What if your herd falls into the excellent health category?
The financial math turns completely upside down. Excellent health herds saw returns ranging from negative 33 euros to positive 63 euros per cow annually.
Negative 33. You might actually lose money on the investment.
Let that really sink in. If your transition program is top tier, your barns are spotless, nutrition is dialed in, and your staff's observation is excellent, spending $50,000 on internal stomach sensors is very likely a complete waste of capital.
Dr. Robert Van Son from Penn State University emphasizes this heavily. This tech is a supplement to skilled human observation, not a replacement.
The math only works if there's actually something for the sensor to catch that you are currently missing.
If you are already successfully preventing diseases through superior management, the sensor has nothing to do but sit there and confirm how great you are.
And paying tens of thousands of dollars for a digital pat on the back is terrible business strategy. That money would be much better spent hiring an extra part-time farmhand or upgrading ventilation fans.
To be fair to the tech, those ROI numbers for mature cows don't fully capture the massive financial upside of catching calfhood BRD. But the core economic principle holds true. The worse your problems are, the more this tech pays off. If you are elite, it might drag you down.
So, as a farm owner, how do you know if you should pull the trigger? The Bullvine article laid out a brilliantly practical €3.90 365-day checklist.
This is the playbook. First, the 30-day mark. Your first step has nothing to do with calling a sales rep.
You sit down and pull your last 12 months of vet bills and treatment records. Don't go by gut feeling. Actually count your hard cases of BRD, metritis, and ketosis.
That establishes your objective baseline problem rate. That specific rate is the ceiling on what the tech can possibly save you. If that number is already incredibly low, stop right there. Do not buy the tech.
But if the number is unacceptably high and you decide to proceed, you hit the 90-day mark, the pilot phase.
Do not buy boluses for the whole herd. Pilot the tech on one specific high-risk group, like Maxime's showstring or offsite calves.
And during this 90-day window, you rigorously track one metric. Did the digital alerts actually force you to move your medical treatment timing earlier? Did it catch things before you saw them?
And finally, the 365-day mark. 1 full year in. The moment of truth.
You compare the disease rates, cull rates, and treatment costs of that monitored group against your historical baseline.
It's a harsh financial truth. If those numbers didn't undeniably improve, you have to have the discipline to ditch the technology.
Take the loss on the small pilot group and redirect that capital into fixing the root causes. Overcrowded facilities, moldy feed, undertrained labor.
Do not let the tech become another expensive dashboard you glance at while drinking coffee. Raw data is inherently worthless unless it changes your physical management decisions.
Let's take a deep breath and summarize this incredible journey. We started with Ferme Petitclerc and a $99 bolus catching a fever 12 hours before the human eye could see it.
Which illuminated the brutal hidden economics of the elite show circuit, that 25% reputation tax.
We did a deep dive into hardware options, comparing vulnerable ear tags to the deep tech bolus with its integrated magnet.
We examined the severe toll of highway transport, highlighting the 11 welfare consequences identified by the EFSA.
We uncovered the permanent, devastating effects of calfhood BRD, causing a massive loss of milk production due to fibrous lung scarring.
And finally, we confronted the hard truth about ROI. If you are already an elite manager, this tech might result in a net financial loss. It's a diagnostic tool, not a universal magic bullet.
It's been a fascinating deep dive through the invisible data streams reshaping global agriculture. But I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought.
Look to the future of the market.
Exactly. As these rumen boluses become cheaper and batteries last a decade, what happens to the cattle market itself? Right now, buyers rely on visual inspection and historical reputation.
But what happens when buyers inevitably start demanding to see an animal's entire, unedited lifetime bolus data history before making a purchase?
What if, Before a single bid is cast at the Royal, the auctioneer displays the heifer's continuous temperature graph stretching back to the day she was born.
Will a mathematically perfect health log become the new standard for elite genetics?
If a cow had a subclinical fever for 3 days when she was 2 months old, will buyers use that permanent digital record to aggressively discount her price 10 years later?
It fundamentally shifts the entire dynamic of trust. The raw, immutable data becomes the reputation.
The invisible becomes undeniable. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the numbers, keep challenging the hype, and keep your eyes wide open.
For more straight-talking industry analysis, head to www.thebovine.com.